morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Breakfast Club. Hopefully you have your beverage of choice here this morning while we learn a little bit about how to get out of a sticky situation with non-stick presser feet. So, a very exciting morning. Good morning, Miss Connie. Good morning, Miss Carol. Hope everybody had a restful evening. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. All right. Lots and lots to, well, can't say I have a lot. I have lots of information to share with you this morning. A little bit all about different presser feet that are available. Up, and I see I have a rogue curl right there. Tuck him back in. All right, let's get started. Yes, all right. Let me get myself together here. All right, my picture's gonna go away, but you're gonna be able to see, you should be able to hear me and see the PowerPoint because that's way more important than seeing me. So we're going to talk this morning about non-stick presser feet, what are also known as Teflon coated presser feet, designed to help you get out of sticky fabric, okay? Get out of a sticky situation with what we would call sticky or, fabrics that don't want to slide or move freely underneath of your presser foot. Yes, ma'am, Miss Joanne, I have had my caffeine for this morning. I was up way too late. So yes, I'm going to be all sorts of pep in my step here today. So, what are non-stick presser feet? Okay, these are feet, like I said, that are designed to work with difficult materials, things like microfiber, plastics, vinyls, corks, ultra suede, leather, more. Anything that's kind of have a texture to it that the metal feet of your Berninas have a tendency to drag on. Okay, they don't want to move freely. They just don't stitch quite as nice. And so the soles of these particular feet are coated in Teflon so that they slide over this material and will move freely underneath of your machine needle. Okay, so we have in the Bernina world, we have 4 non-stick presser feet that have coated soles. Okay, these 4 presser feet also have a matching corresponding all metal foot, okay? And these are feet that you would be very used to using every day. So I'll talk about the non-coated version, but I'll also let you know, if you can't tell, what is the metal counterpart to that particular foot. Basically, it's best friend. So you can have a non-Teflon and you can have a Teflon version of that particular foot. They're going to do the same techniques except for the one being in Teflon. So here are the 4 options. And you're like, Amy, 4 options? I see 6 presser feet. Well, presser foot number 52 comes in 3 forms, okay? 52, 52C, and 52D, okay? And we'll talk about each one of these feet individually, okay? So those are the options. You see that you can visually tell that they are the non-stick presser feet by the color and the look of their soles. Okay, so the non-stick presser feet are going to be green or white in color. Okay, so the 52, standard 52 plain by itself is white. The 52C and D are green, and everything else after that is green as well. So so visually you can tell a difference between them. All right, let's start with 52. Okay, so what is the difference between 52, 52C, and 52D? Well, it has to do with stitch width. Okay, so for many of you, you may have had no idea what stitch width your machine is capable of. Okay, meaning how wide can your machine sew a zigzag or a decorative stitch? Okay, so the 52 foot, 52 all by itself, is a 5.5 millimeter presser foot. So if you put this on your machine will give you the ability to stitch up to a 5.5 millimeter wide decorative stitch, zigzag. You can move your needle position left and right. Okay. Yes. So the question was, Miss Kathy, do they all come in the old style? Yes. The non-stick Teflon feet are also available in the legacy versions as well. Okay. Good morning, Grady and Layton. Mimi loves you. All right, so 52 is going to give you a 5.5 millimeter stitch width. 52C, when you add that C, for machines that are capable of it, it's going to make that foot give you the ability to do up to a 9 millimeter stitch width. Okay, and so putting a 52C on a machine that's not capable of 9 millimeters, so for example, Bernina 350 is a 5.5 millimeter machine. You can use a 52C on it. You're still only going to be able to do 5.5 millimeters, but you're working with a wider foot base. Okay. For my 52Cs, that's going to be my 5 series, so the Bernina 570 next generation, the 590s, 580s, Artista 730s, 200s. Those are 9 millimeter machines. So you would use a 52C if you were looking to do a decorative stitch or a zigzag 9 millimeters wide. And then the 52D adds the ability to use the dual feed for those machines that have dual feed. Okay. And with the dual feed, you also have the ability to do up to a 9 millimeter stitch width. Okay. The metal counterpart to this foot is your number 1 foot. Okay, so this is identical to your number 1, except it has the Teflon sole. It's got the bar through the middle with the line that aligns to the center of your needle. This is the all-purpose foot. The foot, if you don't know what foot to use, this is the foot to go to. Okay, can straight stitch, can zigzag, you can move your needle position, you can decorative stitch with it. Great for seaming, hemming, decorative stitches, top stitching, and all sorts of things. So this is 52, okay? So a couple of tips when using decorative stitches with Teflon and with these specialty materials like leather, vinyl, things along that lines. You want to make sure that you look at a decorative stitch that does stitch over itself a couple of times just to make the stitching more prominent. But if you want to use a stitch that doesn't stitch over itself, but you want it to look bolder, you may want to consider using thicker thread. Okay, so maybe looking at like a 28 weight thread or even a 12 weight thread if you're looking for something to be very bold. But at the same time, you've got to be careful that you don't select a stitch that is too close to each other, or will go into the same hole too many times, or too close to the same holes, because you can poke a hole or pierce the material, and so basically cut a hole out of it, and your entire item would fall through it, or things along that lines. So you just want to test sew first to make sure, use some scrap pieces to make sure that you have the right stitch and thread and things like that. A lot of times when we're working with these sticky materials, we are increasing our stitch length slightly, so that we can space it apart a little bit more to help preserve the integrity of the fabric. Now, foot number 53, okay, is a non-stick straight stitch foot. Okay, the metal counterpart for this foot is foot number 13. Now that has been retired. Okay, so the only way to get a straight stitch foot like this would to use foot number 53. Okay, this is a foot that we use for top stitching. You can see here there is a slightly smaller toe on the right hand side, which is about 1/8 of an inch wide. And so when you want to what am I saying? When you want to top stitch or follow the edge and be close to the edge, this is the presser foot to use. So for example, I'll show you the picture in a minute, but that is the foot. I love this foot for top stitching. It's just smaller, narrower than trying to use your number 52, 53. Also, you can totally sew with any of these non-stick presser feet on regular cotton fabric. It doesn't mean that you have to sew with sticky fabrics for these. You can sew anything and everything with these non-stick feet. Okay. 54 is going to be your zipper foot. Okay, so 54 is the zipper with a guide. So it's pretty much what we use for putting in zippers. Okay, the metal counterpart would be either foot number 4, which is a regular number 4 foot, or 14. Okay, 14 is a regular zipper foot with the guide attached to it. So 54 and 14 are truly identical. Okay, number 4 doesn't have the guide attached to it, and the guide is used for when we top stitch zippers. That's there. Okay, there's not a substitute for 53. The closest straight stitch foot that we have in a metal counterpart is going to be foot number 8 or 8D, which is a jeans foot. It is a straight stitch foot it's not as narrow as I think it's closer to 3/8 of an inch wide, but there is no metal counterpart to foot number 53 at the moment. Okay, since they retired that number 13. So here's an example, okay, of using the zipper foot to put in a zipper. This is an all metal metal bag, all vinyl bag here with a zipper installed. Again, using that longer stitch length, okay, to help avoid perforating the vinyl that we have in the vinyl. Okay, so too close together, it's going to cause an issue, and we just don't want to poke a hole in our project. Now, one second. Okay. .54, okay, or sorry, not 54, 56, I'll fix that, that's a typo. 56 is an open toe for heavy, for decorative stitching, edge stitching, lap seams, things like that. Its metal counterpart is going to be foot number 20. Okay, so this is your open toe decorative stitch. the foot that I would use if I was going to blanket stitch on any sort of sticky fabrics. Great for lap seams and top stitching as well, depending on what you're doing. So that is, again, a good use of 56. Versus why I would use a 56 over a 53 is going to depend upon how, for example, this here in the image, you can see we've got one part of the presser foot is off of the fabric and half of it is on. Foot number 53 may not sit quite as level on that folded over hem, so the 56 just straddles the edge a little bit nicer than using 53 here, but it's completely up to you. Just a couple of suggestions when you are using these materials, okay? One, reduce your presser foot pressure, okay? So even if you put on a Teflon foot and you're still struggling at the fabric feeding nicely underneath of the machine, reduce your presser foot pressure, okay? We talked about lengthening the stitch slightly to help keep these fabrics from perforating. You also, we don't really pin these fabrics, because if you pin it, you put a hole in it, and the holes don't disappear on these non-woven fabrics. So when we are assembling things with leather and vinyls and things, we use a lot of wonder clips, basting glue, basting tape, alligator clamps, paper clips, anything along that lines that's going to hold something together for you but not poke a hole in it. Okay? And then you have, as always, test your fabric. Okay? Test on a scrap, test your stitch, test your foot. That way you can test your needle, you can test your thread, everything before you jump directly into your project. Okay? Now, let's take a look at some of these feet and some examples to show you, and a couple of things that you also may not think of. So, I have two pieces of good old clear vinyl here, what we would use for making a pocket or a bag or anything along that lines. And if I tried to sew this with my regular number 1 foot, you're going to see that it just doesn't move. Okay, I can push and get things to sew, okay, but it just doesn't guide as nicely underneath of that foot as I want. You can also get some stitches that are really big, some that are really small as you are pushing and pulling. But if we change over to a 52, oops, I tell the machine I put a foot on. You'll see that it just, I'm not even struggling to work with it. Now, one thing to remember here is, in the world of Bernina, a lot of us have these metal free arms. Okay? Fabric and some things want to stick to this. Not, you've got to, even if you've got a Teflon foot on and you're still struggling to get things to move freely under here, a lot of it could also be the drag created by your metal free arm. Okay? So in the world of Bernina, we use, you can use like press and seal. And so you can take some press and seal and just stick it to your free arm, or some, you could tape down some tissue paper, things along that, just in the area. Don't cover your feed dogs, but just in an area to help protect the stickiness that you can get here from the free arm of the machine. And so the same works on, this is vinyl, okay? and or cork. Okay. If you're going to do decorative stitching with these particular fabrics, you may want to use some stabilizer. Okay. But again, test it on your project, okay, first, because it's going to really depend upon the decorative stitch that you choose, how dense it is, how tight, because we still want, once you sew this, we still want this to lay flat. We don't want it to curl or buckle or pucker, so you may need to put a piece of lightweight tearaway underneath and then tear it off when you are finished, okay? Provided you're not using it with the intent of it being reversible. Okay. Miss Susan, I will come back to that question because I do have an answer. Surprise, surprise. So we had a question that was presented to me in how do you protect your feet, because some of you may be noticing that the bottom of your Teflon feet are starting to show wear. Not so much on the white. The green Teflon feet do have a tend to wear, and mostly that's because of the friction between your feed dogs and the bottom of the presser foot, okay? So when you are using your Teflon feet, you should always use either a leader fabric, okay? So sewing on fabric and then leading into your project, and then using an ender, or always start on top. You do not want to have your feed dogs brushing up or rubbing the bottom of those feet for an extended period of time, because it will wear your Teflon. At the moment, there's no way to replace the Teflon. There's nothing you can paint on for the moment that I've been researching and trying to find a way to recover worn feet. They're not, even if it is worn, it's okay. It's not that it's no longer usable. It works perfectly fine. I have I think the Teflon foot that I have, which I couldn't locate this morning. I don't know where it's at. It's in one of the 14 places I sew. That is very worn on the bottom. It's like 18 years old. It's one of the first feet that I had. And it still works fine even though it's worn. But you may want to save your pennies, wait for a sale with presser feet, and you may want to invest in replacing your Teflon foot if it is very, very severe wear and tear on the bottom of that foot, and it's just not feeding as well as you would like it to. Okay? And then surprise, we have another foot. Okay? I didn't group this in with the original 4 feet because this foot is not actually Teflon coated. Excuse me. This foot is 51. It's a roller foot. It was originally only available at the legacy machines, and just recently they brought it back to all the classic line machines. But there are 3 rollers built into this foot that help to feed and move the fabric and move the presser foot underneath of it. So really great for construction in general. Top stitching, all of that stuff can be done with that particular foot. So let me show you what that foot looks like. So here is good old 51. And if you look at the bottom of 51, there are what looks like three steamrollers. It kind of looks like what they use to pave the streets with. And so it's really, really slippery, okay? And as it rolls over the fabric. So let me show you here. And again, it moves with ease through those 2 layers of vinyl. Okay. One little thing, just because you may not know, some of your feet feet do not have those slits in them to get thread back underneath where the needle goes in at, right? So if you look at like 51, there is no slit in the side of the foot to get the thread underneath the foot. 52, the slit is in the front of the foot, okay? Your 51, 1C is in the side of the foot. When you come to a foot that does not give you a thread guide, here is the trick to get it underneath of the foot without you sitting here trying to do this through the hole. Before you put the foot on the machine, take the needle through the hole that it would travel on when it's sewing, grab your thread tail, and then put the foot on the machine, okay? Now your thread is underneath the foot, and you did not have to sit there and try to get it to go through there and then make it work.
Oh my God.
There's my tip for today. My mind blown tip. Now, question was, is Bernina going to re-release the app? Okay, so a few years ago we had an app. Bernina had an app that you could mark your presser feet, okay, and things with. And then they had videos, you could create wish list, you could do all sorts of stuff. That app went away, okay? And so we've been asking for it and asking for it and asking for it back, okay? It is coming, okay? They are working on it. We do have a Bernina app, okay? So let me show you. See there's the little Bernina sign. Let me pull it up in the App Store. I'm pretty sure it's for Apple's, well, it's for an Apple. It's because what I have. I'm pretty sure it's Android as well. I don't know. I don't have one. But if you go to the App Store and search Bernina, go ahead and install this. This right now, what it does is it takes you to the customer portal portion of the Bernina website. Okay, so it will take you to where you can find the learn and create. You basically can travel the Bernina website, okay, that will let you look up presser feet, things like that. It will link you to the We Also blog. You can pull up inspiration, find a dealer, all of that information. It's coming. There will be more that gets added to this, but it's one step at a time. But yes, you will get your wish soon. I don't know when, but it's on the list. We no longer get the answer of it's never going to happen, and stop asking. We no longer get that answer. So they have listened and are giving us our wish that's there. Okay, so that was the one. I do have, Miss Kathy says, I inherited my mom's machine and a little trifold card. I still have some of those trifold cards here in the store. So if you wanted a paper item at the moment to keep track of your feet, I can dig out those trifold accessory cards that you can check mark what you own. They're around here. I think they're in, I assume they're where I last taught a mastery class, which would be in the other classroom. So it's been a while since I had to get into that drawer and get some of those out, but we do have, I should have some of those cards. I have the card, but I never remember to get it. I completely understand. With our phones and everything, you can easily create a note in the Notes app, things along that lines to keep a running list. And if you've bought your presser feet from me, for the most part, we usually always put things underneath your names when you sell it so that we have that ability, that history to be able to pull it up to see if you already purchased it. So we try to make it easy for you to be able to track everything, and you don't get home and be like, why do I have 3 of these feet? It's because you love it so much you just keep buying it again. But you can find more information in this PowerPoint. In this presentation, I have links to those pouches, the vinyl pouch that you saw, the leather bracelets, things like that. You can't do it here while we're live on Facebook, but in the presentation, you have the ability to click these links. So to find this presentation, if you go to our website, materialgirlsquilt.com, click on YouTube, scroll on down here, and you'll see nonstick presser feet. And this link, the word presentation is a link. So if you click on presentation, you will get the PDF version of this. And in there, these are all hot links that will take you to the article and the information on that particular project with the steps how to do that project and things along that lines for you. Okay, so all of that can be found. That's already up and live. Later this afternoon or tomorrow or next week, when I have a moment, I will pull the video from Facebook and move it to YouTube. It's easier to find later down the road if you want to watch it again than having to dig through Facebook's feed to look for the videos. So all of these will link you back to YouTube. Be sure to go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. Okay, click the little bell to get reminders when I upload new videos and things. So as a reminder, we have our breakfast clubs are there. All of the embroidery mastery, sewing mastery, the beginning of software mastery are also up on YouTube as well. So you can find all of that there on our YouTube page. Okay. Do I have any questions about feet, about anything in particular? Because that's what I have on nonstick presser feet. They are feet. Oh, I can show you examples. The examples I dug out today. So sewing with nonstick presser feet. So these are little zipper pouches. Okay. In the front there is a vinyl window in here. So using a nonstick foot, either 13 and or 52. I think I used 52 for this, for top stitching on these bands, putting on the binding, things along that lines. These are an Atkinson design pattern called Bridget's Baguettes. There's 3 sizes, but once you understand how to make it, you can really make it in any size. This is another Atkinson. This is a lunchbox. This one's not really a lunchbox. This one's designed to hold a bottle of wine and a couple of glasses. So, somebody's lunchbox. What I need for lunch some days. But this is done out of laminated cotton. Okay, it's bound in cotton fabric, but it is laminated cotton inside and outside. So this one is sticky on both sides, so definitely need a non-stick foot in order to be able to sew this. This one is the lunchbox version of that pattern. That is, this one is cotton on the inside, non-stick vinyl on the outside as well. Again, necessary, will work much better when you're trying to sew this and bind this if you have some things. Yes, I am breaking out some old samples, Wendy. I was up way too late looking for things. I still did not find things that I was looking for. I'm still looking for that purse from last week. I did find the other patch. So there's the other patch. But I haven't found the other items that I wanted. I destroyed the sewing room this morning looking for it. Did you find your umbrella? Nope, didn't locate the umbrella yet. Do I use a C? So the other question is, do you use the D or the C? Well, it's completely up to you. If you want to use dual feed, you can. Like if I was sewing these particular items, I would probably use a D foot if I had a machine that had dual feed. if I was sewing like 2 layers of leather together for a bracelet, I don't know if dual feed would really make a difference just because of the overall thickness of the fabric, but it's completely up to you. I mean, it's not that dual feed has to be required, but you may find that if the fabric is still moving on you in terms of as you're piecing or sewing together, a D feed can be helpful to counteract that, but I don't use the dual feed when I'm top stitching, okay? Because especially if you have a material that maybe has some texture to it, I don't want the dual feed, the little teeth on the dual feed to mar my texture, if that makes sense. So I don't want to scratch it. I don't know if that makes sense, but there you go. See, Miss Dan and I were thinking on the same line. So yes, so when it comes to things like vinyl and whatnot, I don't normally use the dual feed for that purpose because it does leave an impression from where it's pushing down and pulling. Now, you can adjust presser foot pressure to kind of see if you can counteract that. But yeah, when I'm using vinyl, I definitely only use a C foot or the regular foot, the 52 or the 52C. I don't use dual feed, okay, when it comes to vinyl. Couple of other things. This is the pocket packers from Annie's. So these zippers are sewn into vinyl, okay, and sewn onto vinyl, top stitched to vinyl, and then sewn together. So lots of vinyl, and then you've got to bind the edge with cotton fabric. So a Teflon foot is very helpful here. Now, a lot of you will say, well, if I don't have a Teflon, I can just use tissue paper. You know, you can lay tissue paper down and sew through it, but the problem is you can't see where you're going. So if you cover it up with tissue paper, it really does kind of impair your vision. So you want to, really save your pennies and get yourself a Teflon foot, and then you don't have to worry about finding tissue paper in the house when it's not Christmas time. Miss Sarah, when a foot has a number C after it, it means that it's coded, and it's coded to tell the machine that it's capable of doing 9mm stitch width, provided that the machine is capable of doing 9mm stitch width. Okay, so you have to have feed dogs that are 9mm apart in order to be able to do a C foot. But so when you look at a foot, when you look at a number 1 and you look at a 1C, the 1 is only going to be a 5.5mm wide, and this 1C is going to be 9mm wide. So that's how we can tell the difference between them. And then lastly, another project that uses vinyl. Okay, this is the original Place for Everything. Okay, that uses, again, vinyl. Let me go this way, and it's upside down. Has vinyl pockets with vinyl zippers, zippers sewn to vinyl, vinyl bound, all sorts of things. So couldn't do this project without a Teflon foot by any means. I use vinyl. I'm breaking out a Teflon foot, period. Just because of dealing with it wanting to stick and not move. Okay. Yeah, Wendy, you're gonna. It's very pretty, isn't it? This is the running joke is that this project sat with my sister. She started it, I don't know, 10 years ago, and never finished it. Okay, she had all the stuff, all the pieces. For the most part, it was cut out. And then she left the quilt shop, and I had to take over teaching bags because that was the rule. She taught anything with a handle, and I taught everything else. And so when she left, I had to take over teaching everything, period. So I took over this bag. And because we were also doing the Let's Get Organized Club with Annie, this was one of the projects in Let's Get Organized. So I told her that when I made this bag, which is an intensive bag, okay, that she couldn't have it back because I worked too hard on this bag. So too bad, so sad. But now that Annie had, and I claimed that I would never make another one, okay? Because not only did I make one, but I have two, okay? Because I had to make one as an example and one with the class. So I have two, and then Annie's now decided to come out with a 2.0, which means I have to make a third one. So Wendy, you'll probably get your bag back, okay? Because I don't really need three, but don't hold me to that. I could change my mind. Let's see. Jennifer, you're funny. Does it mean if I leave my unfinished projects that I'll get them finished for me? No. I told you, and only way if I finish it is if I get to keep it. So, that type of thing. What foot or feet do you recommend for the Place for Everything bag? So in the Place for Everything bag, I would definitely recommend either in a Teflon coated world, I would definitely go with a 52 something, at least as for 1 foot. If you're going to buy one, go with 52 because you can do everything with it. In the, and I'm trying to think because that's the one that you can do mostly. You can do 1/4 inch. You could do a 53, which is the 1/8 of an inch top stitch foot, but I really find 52 or 53 are the ones. I don't use a zipper foot very often for Place for Everything because her zipper tape is wider than regular zipper tape, so I can usually do a lot of what I need with a 53. But I would definitely get at least a 52. Now, don't come running in here today for Teflon feet, okay? Teflon feet are on order because that usually when we have a presser foot promotion in Bernina, those are usually some of the first feet to go because they are not cheap feet, okay? And so Teflon feet are usually the first ones to go. We should have a restock of Teflon feet here shortly. But so if you are interested in a Teflon foot, please text us or call me and we will get you on a list and call you when they show up here hopefully next week. Okay. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining me here this morning for breakfast. If you are in my shirt class here this morning in a few minutes, no, I haven't sent a link, and I will do it here in just a minute. I forgot. Sorry. I told you I was up way too late working on stuff, and I realized it. Yes, if you order, you can order at the sale price. So even if it's not in stock, you order it, pay for it, and you get it on sale. And then I will get them in for you. So, all right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning here at Breakfast Club. I appreciate you hanging out with me for today, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy today.